Okay, we are live, and I often say, well, I always say, we are live, and then I'm just sitting there on my own. But now there are two of us. Hi there, Matthias.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well.
How are you all doing this morning? Well, or evening, or whatever. Um, you're in the UK, and I'm in Norway, so it's early morning to us.
That is,
It's even earlier for you over in the UK.
yeah,
But anyway,
that's okay.
I'm sorry.
I said, that's okay. I've been awake all night.
Yeah. Um, I am delighted to have you here on the show, as the professional live streamers always say, because you basically started the Heathen Hangout thing here on YouTube.
Yes, I did.
And now it's spreading, and that's a wonderful thing. And now people are joining, and we're going to try to reply to questions as well. And before yeah, let's just give it a few seconds. But I want to announce your channel. For those who don't know it, it's linked in the title to this. There's a direct link in the title to this live stream. So now lots of people are joining. I'll just say hello to the usual suspects. You know how it goes. Night Scream, hi there. KP Heathen. Okay, I can't read all your names, but Redneck Heathen, Angela, Daniel, the Old Oak, Joe Morgan, um, um, and Curtis. So that's wonderful. Lots of people are joining. Lots of people are joining. Wonderful. Okay, so as you can see, I have pulled up an article here on the screen. I'm really good at this now, very professional at the live streaming thing, as you can see. um, we're going to talk a little bit about the rise of modern paganism. But before we do that, Matthias, you had something even more important. I believe that we should probably say a few words about. What the thing we were just talking about.
Yeah, yes. So, Heathen Hangouts. I mean, when I originally started it, I actually did have conversations with you, Bjorn, before I even did it about the idea of doing it. So Bjorn was there right through the beginning, really. And my main thing about doing Heathen Hangouts was that I know that there's a lot of people out there who maybe don't socialize with other people so much, or don't know anyone who is a heathen or a pagan or whatever you want to call yourself. Um, and I thought that would be great if we could develop a community online where we could come together. So that's the reason why I started it. And also, Heathen Hangouts is also a space for just hanging out and having a conversation. It doesn't necessarily have to be an in-depth educational live stream about the sagas, Prose Edda, or in detail about individual gods. It doesn't. They can be that. They
Hmm.
can be. I mean, they are best done as live streams, but you can. I have made videos myself that are called Heathen Hangouts that weren't a live stream. So if people want to do it like that for now, until they get the confidence of going live, because there is a big thing going live. But yeah, so basically, it's what it says in in the title, a heathen hangout, a space to
Yeah.
come together as a community. And I think that's really important in this world today, where we can be living in a city of thousands of people but feel quite isolated and on our own.
Yeah. So I've heard about Åsatru, as we say here in Norway, or Norse heathenism or Norse paganism, rather, that it is a religion that comes with a lot of homework. And but it doesn't have to be like doesn't have to be like that. At least not here. It's always good to read and educate ourselves, and we talk a lot about that. And but it doesn't. As you say, this can be just a hangout. We can talk about
Yeah,
anything sort of related to our way of life, if you will.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
I think as well something important to say is that for people to understand that some of this is open to interpretation. Whenever we're dealing with history, there's not everything is always concrete. That is what it is. So I think if you don't agree, sometimes say if I'm doing Heathen Hangout or Bjorn is, and we are doing something educational, I think it's important to listen to the words sometimes when we say our opinion, or and any of you guys that do do a talk. It's important to when just to clarify that and make sure that you listen that it's an opinion and not stating a fact, because
Mm,
it's as you said, Bjorn, there's a lot of homework, and it's a
mm.
journey. And I've been studying it for a long time, and as you have, and yeah, I still I still feel like a newborn baby in it. It's
Yeah, the
just
more you read, the more you know that you don't know so much. That's how I feel, you know.
yeah,
Um, and if we can kind of move on to the rise of modern paganism, I think it's a stupid title because it's not. Well, maybe not. Modern paganism. Well, what is that? I understand that they have to call it something, but
yeah,
paganism also is not a good word. Um,
no,
because it basically means that you're not a believer in a monotheistic religion. Uh, you are, and you're not an atheist. You believe in something else. You could say
yeah,
so. But anyway, what I now I read this article and similar articles before. Actually, I can't read it from where I'm sitting here with my laptop. Laptop, but
same.
I think the guys here can read it. So I'll just scroll up and I will let those who are interested read it while we talk. Now,
Yeah.
what I find a little bit annoying, I get annoyed by a lot of things actually, but big surprise. But what one thing I find annoying is that, and maybe people here in the chat have heard this, that if you call yourself a pagan or a heathen, you don't really believe in that. You're just LARPing. You're just fascinated by the visuals of it and so on. And it's not a real religion and yada 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 and all that. Um, and that's one thing. The other thing is that people are attracted to it because they are, especially young people, searching for something different. Um, so that makes me annoyed, both of those things,
Yeah,
because basically we are talking about going back to the original belief system. Well, maybe not original if you go back to the Stone Age and so on, but
yeah,
in our cultures here, it's the original. It's the thought. It's a belief system that built our cultures here in Europe. Well, in all over the
yeah,
world, but let's just keep it to Europe in this live stream. So it is old and it's rooted in our very existence and connection
yeah,
to the
yeah,
land. So, if
yeah.
anything, it's not LARPing, it is the most
No.
real thing that we have, I believe.
I think I've got a few things to say about that. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and we ended up talking about the suffragettes. So the suffragettes movement was about 100 years ago. I think it was in 1903 in England. So women's rights. I'm pretty sure it was the right to vote. So the, I'm I'm pretty sure. So I'm not saying I had, but they're the suffragettes. And I was thinking, if the spread of, don't take any offense, any Christians that are in listening to this, because I'm just saying about history, not about you as a person. Um, his If Christianity hadn't come here and paganism persisted, I don't think there would have been a need for the suffragettes movement for women's rights to be able to vote and stuff. I think there would have been. That's just my opinion, and I also think that this whole thing about LARPing is. I'm sorry if anyone listens and thinks that me or Bjorn or anyone in the live stream are LARPing. I can tell you that personally, I feel deep down in my roots that Christianity was not my religion or true belief, even though it was kind of pushed on me at school. Um, I felt something else, something something different and ancestral. And if people think that sounds a bit like, oh, but scientists have, said that they have found that ancestral DNA, ancestral memories are within the DNA. So there's something there we don't fully understand yet. I'm not saying it's like some sort of magical, mystical thing. I'm not saying that. But so I feel it in my roots, if that makes sense to you guys. And especially when I'm in nature, because
Yeah.
nature was far more, especially in this country a long time ago, was far more um, spread out. There was much more nature here. And there is, I mean, England basically is a farmland now. 75% of our country is agricultural land, 11% woodland. In the thunderstorms, in the energies, the powers of everything, and we all might feel something different about this, but I'm not interested in heathenry, Germanic paganism, Germanic heathenry, because a popular TV show came out and everyone suddenly started getting into Vikings because it was, suddenly I had, I was always interested in, I loved history through, when I was 9 years old. We have a castle museum here in the local city. And when I was 9 years old, that's what I asked to go to for my birthday because I loved going and at the um, looking at the swords and stuff. I was really into battle at the time.
Hmm.
So I've always loved history, and I always found the Saxons and the Vikings very fascinating. And then suddenly everyone was talking about Vikings, and I think in some regards it's helped, and things like that have helped. And also, no, sorry, that gone out of my head. Don't worry about it. But I think things like that have helped also. I think it was on the rise anyway, but I think that's helped also. But it's just that some people now have got the wrong idea about what it actually is.
Yeah, certainly. Myself, I don't like it so much when people are more into things like rituals and dogma than
Mm,
the the spirit of it. So I don't care about rituals and dogma actually, and I think you don't really understand what it's about if that's the most important thing to you. And by the way, it always feels a bit strange to say you because we have two different words for you and people you in Norwegian. But I
yeah.
wasn't talking about you. I was talking about those people. Um, but uh, I think that yeah, just a message to people listening. And we have had problems with, and I'm sorry to say this because I have no intention to be nasty against Christian people, but we have had a problem here with Christian people who have taken over the chat. So therefore, if I see comments like that, that person will be blocked for 5 minutes, and there will be no comment to it. I will just block that person for 5 minutes. So I just did, actually. So
that's G. Yeah, I just mentioned someone here.
yeah,
GB watches my videos. I have two channels. GB watches my videos, and sometimes I say things, and GB doesn't take offense. GB is such a respectful Christian, and I
absolutely.
love having GB in any of my live streams or watching any of my videos because she's a nice person, and
Yeah,
she
and
respects that I
absolutely.
have a different
Mm,
belief, because I have a belief, not a religion. I have a belief, and she respects that I have that belief. So
yeah, and certainly there are, I have many Christian friends, and I see a lot of Christian people being genuinely, sorry, really interested and respectful, which is great.
yeah,
I think absolutely that in this day and age, heathenism or paganism and Christianity can exist peacefully along each other. Shouldn't be a problem at all, at least not in our part of the world. Um, and the old oak says here that how Christianity destroyed our culture,
mm,
which is true, but also
mm,
they had to adapt to our culture. For instance, the whole thing about Christmas is, they say Jesus was born on Christmas Eve, and we know that that was something that they adapted to the celebration of uh, what's the turn winter, not
equinox.
equinox. We saw equinox. Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
Mm, yeah, the darkest day of the year, and then the new year, astronomically speaking, begins at that time. So Yule, or Christmas, as we now call it, was celebrated in January here,
mm,
but we also in heathen times. But in all of Northern Europe, they did celebrate that time when the darkest, the shortest day of the year, right?
yeah,
And between that day and Yule was a dangerous time, because it was a time of when the ghosts and the evil, not evil spirits, but the dangerous spirits and all that were very much present. So um, the point I'm trying to make is that they adapted, Christians adapted to the traditions,
yeah,
uh, because they knew they would get too much resistance if they had
yeah,
just tried to. Well, they certainly
yeah,
tried to crush opposition, and they did.
yeah,
And this is another thing that I find. I was astonished when I saw that people in other countries, especially in America, I think most people there, they don't know how Christianity was forced upon people
yeah,
in Europe,
yeah,
with the torture and yeah,
yeah,
we don't have to get into
yeah.
details of what they did, but they don't know. They don't
No,
know.
no. It's the thing is like it wasn't the whole cancel culture of our ancestral beliefs didn't happen in a day. As you said, they incorporated it, and that's why
Mm,
we still have traditions today that Christians celebrate that actually are our traditions. Like you mentioned Christmas, and then there's also Easter. I'm not sure about in Scandinavia, but we had Yostras feast, which was Easter time, and she was like the goddess of spring, basically. Um, but yeah, it was like you say, it was the people would not let go of their beliefs, so they basically let them keep some of their traditions. They incorporated some of the tradition to try and make it more appealing. Um, and but as time went on, as the church gained power, it become nastier and nastier basically over time. We can see that throughout history. There's plenty of examples of torture, burning at the stake, throughout the last 1,000 or 1,400 years. And what a lot of people don't realize is that when, like, say, like when the Kingdom of Wessex first became the King of Wessex first was baptized and became Christian, his people wasn't, and more than likely he wasn't. It's just because political, it was a political tool that came from mainland Europe, and that they wouldn't trade and do stuff with them if they were going to remain pagan. So there was but the people did not drop that. We have, as you know, there's just things. Who remembers? I mean, in England anyway, the maypole is still here. It is still, there's still traditions we celebrate, and some of these traditions that we celebrate. And there's some fantastic books that you can buy that show that some of these traditions that they date back to our ancestral beliefs, and they're still so. Heathenry, paganism, ancestral beliefs, any of them titles, whatever. It never went. It never got crushed. It never got completely defeated.
That's
We
true.
we had it throughout the whole of time, and I think we're living in a time where they want it back. They want what their ancestors believed in back, and I think that's a great and wonderful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I live in one of those parts of Europe that, as far as I know, this was one of the last parts of Scandinavia to be christened. And um, there are some evidence to suggest that heathen beliefs or the old traditions as well, they were kept alive, not for like a couple of years after that, but for a couple of centuries at least.
Yeah,
So we're talking about that this part of the world where I live, here in southeastern Norway, and this probably goes for the interior of Scandinavia as well. It has been monotheistic for about 800 years, and historically speaking, that's nothing.
no,
Um, it's like it's nothing, and the land itself, and it's the same with England, is you can see everywhere grave mounds, stone circles, carvings in the bedrock,
yeah,
uh, memories from those times, and uh, this revival of pagan beliefs really is a revival or a return. That's what it is, a return to who we are,
yes,
culturally speaking. I always get mad around Christmas because period. I always get mad around Christmas because um, we don't even say Christmas in Norway. We say Jul.
yeah,
So uh, because at that time we get the whole thing. Well, what Christmas is really about, and this and that. Well, if we talk about Jul, which is the Norwegian word for well, Jul, basically it's the old word. It was a celebration, as we know, and the drinking, the eating, the fornication, the all of those things was kept alive through those 800 years. And you can say, well, is that such a good thing? Or I don't care. The point here is that it was kept alive, and actually, during Christian times in the medieval age, it was illegal. You would get fined if you did not keep a certain quite huge amount of alcohol on your farm, because you could get people visiting, especially if there was like a priest coming there. That way, you needed to have a huge amount of beer. Um, and at some point, I believe, I can't remember when, it was seen as very bad behavior not to get drunk during that time of the year,
Yeah,
actually. So they basically put into the laws the traditions from the heathen times. So
yeah.
uh, it's
I
it's
mean, I
funny
think
about it, actually.
people would have to double check this, but Oliver Cromwell, um, when he took over in England, when we had the Civil War, um, he tried to, I think he banned Christmas. He may actually have, yeah, I think he banned Christmas, um, because he said that basically like it was like not a good celebration because of his, his history or his pagan roots. Um, but yeah, he banned Christmas. Yeah,
You know
and
what? Just a thing there. Back in those times, no contraceptives.
mhm,
Probably people lower on the social ladder were taken, especially women, were taken advantage of. Maybe. So
yeah,
maybe that was not only. Maybe he had a good pointer, actually.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, that's not my expertise, that area of history. Y- Anything before the Tudor times has my interest. My main interest is Saxons, Vikings, and the Nordic Bronze Age, because the Nordic Bronze Age kind of covers the, not just Scandinavia, but down into Germany a little bit as well. Yeah. Um, so yeah, and an Indo-European is quite interesting. But yeah, that part of history is not my speciality, um, really. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. Um, I think that when you said about Yule and feasting, I think it's within us about this feasting thing. We want to feast. People love to feast at Christmas,
Hmm.
and you know, I keep saying Christmas. Yes, like Yule. There's Yule, and this presents and stuff like that. I don't care. I don't want presents. I tell my partner, I say she doesn't buy me presents because I say I don't want presents. I just enjoy the food. I enjoy feasting at that time of year. And I think it says something about the European people about the feasting. We like to feast. And
Yeah.
that is within our DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are getting some comments here about the DNA, actually, and which peoples are sort of, related. And we have talked a lot about this, and this is we know quite a lot about it, actually, because of the DNA tests that people are and history. So
Mm,
basically, for those who are interested, if you live in Norway, you will probably have, because it's such a monotheistic country. No, not monotheistic. Sorry, monocultural, monoethnic. Well, still country. So most people here are basically Scandinavian, and they have a large part of DNA from the British Islands, and some from Northern Europe, uh, and we are also quite linked to the people in the Dutch people, actually.
Mm.
So what people need to understand is that the North Sea, well, the sea basically linked people together much more than
Yeah.
land.
Yeah.
So the culture, we can talk about the North Sea culture, actually, and
Mm.
so we have a lot
That,
of lot in common. The
y-
British people, the Scandinavian peoples,
yeah.
we have a lot in common.
There's
I would actually say it's just almost the same. It's just sort of the same culture, but also different in many ways.
yeah,
But
it's like cousins or
yeah,
something like that, like a cousin
mm,
culture. It's I mean, the thing that people have got to realize is that history is not done and set in stone. There's lots of there's lots of not can't be proved that maybe that there's places in England where Germanic people had even settled before the Romans,
yeah,
before the Roman times. What people have to remember is that actually during the Roman times, the Angles and Jutes, um, which obviously are from Denmark, pretty much. The Angles are southern Denmark and a little bit into Germany, but they were raiding and doing piracy. So on the Roman cargo ships and stuff like that. And this is, hundreds of years before the Saxon Jutes and Angles came over to England. These people were seafaring people for a long time. They were, I mean, in a way, they were Viking. Their Viking period. I just had this thought. Is this like they were being Vikings before the Viking period? Really?
yeah.
Um,
Actually, there's this thing about a Viking period before the Viking period that
yeah,
some people are talking about.
yeah,
But we don't know that much about it. But
yeah,
it's like um, where I live, there's an archaeological excavation going on because they found a Viking ship, and everyone thought that because there's a huge grave mound there, really big, and everyone thought, and I guess if you ask people now, they think, well, they are excavating in the grave mound, but no, that grave mound was there when the Vikings settled there. So they
yeah,
settled next to the grave mound, and they had legends and stories about who was in the grave mound. Actually, a certain King Yell, um, uh, Jell, and he said local legend has says that he will appear. The grave mound will open, and he will appear and
yeah,
save his kingdom in times of need. It's a like almost like the Arthur legend. The kingdom
yeah,
probably it's not like Norway. It's probably this area where I live because
yeah,
that was his kingdom back then, probably.
yeah,
And that's we don't know that much, but
yeah,
I'm just mentioning this to put things into perspective. You had a mighty king before the Viking Age who was buried in a huge grave mound, and then the Vikings settled there next to the grave mound. So there was like a lot of things happening before the Vikings as well. And
yeah,
this is important that people understand that it goes way back hundreds and hundreds of years through the migration period. Um, and it's like it's such a huge time span,
yeah.
much, much larger than again, I mentioned we have had about 800 years of Christianity here, so that's why I say that's nothing compared
No, it's
to
nothing.
what was before.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just the, I mean, I know it's going even further back, but just the European people in general, Northern European, Western European people, um, I say that because my history doesn't, I don't delve into Southern European history as much as I do Northern European history. So I pull on the knowledge of Northern and Western Europe European history. So if you're Southern European, I'm not saying that you guys haven't got stuff or anything like that. But burial mounds have been so important. It just shows the closeness of people in Northern Western Europe. There's burial mounds. My favourite woods that on my other channel, Methodist Tree Man, as some of you or subscribe to will know that my favourite woods has a burial mound there, and it's 6,000 years old. They date it back to 6,000 years. The burials in mounds is significant thing in our cultures. And and the thing is about history as well is like this like the migration from from the Germanic people into England when the Romans left has been disputed back and forth quite a few times, and DNA results and archaeologists not agreeing, but there's an interesting study that I'm waiting to come out from the Max Planck Institute that they have dated the most skeletons, more than anyone before, because the other people who done used the skeletons, they only used about 10 or 12 skeletons to assess the DNA percentage in England of how much you've got. So people in my area are generally 40% Germanic. Some are higher, some are lower. My mother is higher. So her DNA test says anyway, but I wouldn't have one of them. But they actually are saying that no, it was an invasion. Or they will say, we've got to wait for the papers to come out. So, but they're saying that 80% replacement of the Celt people in England. So it's going to be very interesting when it comes out. But yeah, it's it's history is a funny thing, especially when it comes to it. Like it's difficult. I mean, DNA is relatively new to us. I mean, I'm sure in 50 years' time that the things they'll know about DNA will be absolutely amazing compared to now. I think it's that whole the Saxon and Viking era. I mean, a lot of people just say this Viking, but I can't. I say the Saxons because that's my part of my heritage. So, but also Scandinavia as well. But my Scandinavian heritage, is very, very small amount, a tiny amount. So, but I lost what I was saying. I'm so sorry. I have been awake all night.
Yeah, well, we are going to get more exact on the DNA in the future, maybe. But I will also say this because I get a lot of questions from people who are asking. They say like, "Well, I'm from South America, for instance. Can I be a Norse heathen or Norse pagan?" And it's like, it's not. Well, some people who are of a certain conviction, they might disagree with this, but it's not. You don't have to shove your ancestral line to qualify to be a Norse heathen, or I disagree a lot with that thing there. So we should be happy when people connect with nature. Basically, we're going to talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that as well, but it's not. We should welcome people. I would say that everyone has every culture has their own heathen or pagan belief system, but in some cultures it has been so thoroughly destroyed that it's very hard to find any
Yes.
traces of it. Especially, I think, in countries that are now Muslim countries.
Oh yeah.
That's at least that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, So
I do
moving on.
I do
Yeah.
have something to say on that
Mm.
matter. Um, and I will try and phrase it right. I'll try and phrase it right. So I think all are welcome. Let me put that first. But I think
Mm.
if you are able to, and the history is there, I think maybe I would first explore my ancestral religion first and see where you go with that. Because there's some people out there where you have got the information and your culture and your history and and the belief system are amazing. And I think
Mm.
but if you don't want to, it's up to you. I think if you want to explore Germanic paganism, Germanic heathenry, then go for it. So I think I hope that sounded okay. I didn't want that to sound like I was saying that people shouldn't.
No,
Because
no,
that's not
not
what
at
I'm
all.
implying at
No.
all.
Let's see. Look at this. I changed the screen up a little bit here.
Ah,
Can you see that?
I can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think that you sort of owe it to your ancestors so that they shouldn't be forgotten.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
but you know,
I'm sorry about that. That's my alarm going off. Someone's
okay, is
entered.
there something you have to do?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. A few minutes. I got a few
okay.
minutes.
So let's just finish this live stream by saying a few words about nature, but because nature, we always say, you say, I say, and most heathens or pagans, they say, connect with nature. And then you have people saying that why, and well, you should connect with God. And sorry, sorry, uh, I get annoyed by this, But let's leave that out of this live stream for now. Why should we connect with nature? What's the thing there? Why?
Well, because for a start, we are nature. We are nature. We Without nature, we are nothing.
Hmm.
And to work against that is foolish. But to work with it and be part of it is an amazing, enjoyable experience. And everyone has moments in their lives and stuff. And when I feel really down and I'm not feeling that great, life isn't going so good sometimes. When you go out into the woods, it's like none of that even exists. If you just let yourself go and be with it and part of it.
Yeah, and that's how it is. And I think that if you don't have that in your life, you don't really live a full life. That's what I think.
Yeah,
And it's so easy, for some people, I guess it will take a little while, but we're not
yeah,
talking about days. We're talking about go out in nature, just stand there or sit down and just give it a few minutes. You will start to feel something,
yeah,
a connection.
yeah.
And it's so easy, doesn't cost any money. And the biggest crime may be being done to people in so-called modern society is that the people are encouraged to move into big cities where
Mm,
they can't really get to nature because
no,
it's the, I've I've been to big cities actually. I've been to New York. I've been to Los Angeles. Los Angeles wasn't that bad actually, but New York was, and I've been to other big cities like Frankfurt, and well, I've been to many big cities actually, and they are all awful. And the main reason is that you can't get to nature. They say, well, we have this park. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great, but it's not the same. It
no,
really isn't.
no.
So
Not,
we're going to finish this live stream now because I know you have to go. And this was awesome. This was fun. and I will encourage everyone to go and check out Matthias's channel. You will be doing Heathen Hangouts as well. And what can I say? We have it's a difficult time of the day to do Heathen Hangouts, actually, but we still had quite a lot of people joining. Not much trolling here in the chat, only once or twice. So that's wonderful. Okay, I won't keep you any longer. I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation, and I'm sure we'll do this again.
Definitely. And thank you for having me. And I just want to say, to everyone, hello. I appreciate you. Bjorn appreciates you. And if any of you want to, build this community, because together we're stronger. And yeah, I just think it's really important. We want to bring this back into the spotlight as much as possible, in the right way, of course.
We are all looking forward to you starting your doing the Hidden Hangouts again. So I will be looking forward to that. I will be joining you in the chat there next time, and lots of good comments here. Hold on, I can show the comments. You see here. This
Very
tribe is
good.
powerful. Yes, absolutely.
Online tribalism is a thing, no matter what anyone says. I believe that.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Mm.
And I don't like when people try to make it into a bad thing, because we are tribal, as human beings. We are tribal, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
We have to do the best with what we've got.
Sorry?
We have to do the best with what we've got.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I'll let you go now, and I will then click on the end broadcast here. So that's it for now, and thank you all for joining. This was fun, and have a wonderful day or night or whatever it is where you are in the world. Yeah, that's all for now. Bye.
Security alarms.
Okay.